Alright, it's time for another collection reveal. You should know the drill by now, being this is the third time that I've done this video. But we're going to start from 10 to 1, and 10 of cards from my collection, and going to be increasing in value and rarity of the cards until we finally reach number 1. And so starting out at number 10 here, we have Spirit of the Pharaoh from Ancient Sanctuary, first edition PSA 10. This is a cool card from artwork standpoint, but as far as playability, it was pretty bad. The effect just wasn't too great, and the summoning conditions on this card were pretty difficult to meet up to. So not a very playable card, but still an ultra rare and got a really nice artwork to it. Then at number 9, we have an LOB first edition North American print. This isn't European, Asian, or Spanish, or Asian English. First edition PSA 10 Curse of Dragon, super rare. Again, not a very playable card. Back when LOB was out, you could just buy the starter deck Yugioh decks, and if you wanted a one sacrifice monster, Summon Skull was the way to go. 2500 beat stick. But still, Curse of Dragon used in the anime a bunch. Cool card. Had that nice polymerization for Gaia the Dragon Champion with Gaia the Fierce Knight. So definitely a card that's cool to have and needed for the LOB set. And then at number 8, we have a pretty interesting card. This is a Japanese Celebi promo card that's Gem Mint 10 from PSA. You can read the description up here, but it is a Japanese play that says the 5,000 EXP points promo. And what this was a promotional card given out to members of the Japanese Pokemon Play Club. And what that was just kind of like a club where you would fill out events and activities to get points for your account, and what you would do is, basically like send in postcards, show up to events that were held by the Japanese Play Club, so like going to card events and playing at card events, and you would earn points. And part of the earning points process was getting these cards once you reached a certain amount of points, and you could actually turn in these cards for more points to get to the higher rarity cards, where at 7,000 points, you would get a Mew card, so you could potentially turn this card in and get points for it to try to get that Mew card. So some of the lower, like some of these mid-tier point cards, a lot of times are kind of rare to an extent because they were turned in so much for extra points. But yeah, this is a Celebi promo card from Japan that really only got in Japan because of the Japanese Play Club being in there. And I really like this card. I've always been a big fan of Celebi, and luckily for me, Celebi has some really cool cards with artworks on them, and just really good-looking cards. And it's got this holographic border. You can see instead of like the banana yellow border that the Wizard of the Coast cards have. So I've always really liked this like holographic border on the card. I thought it added a lot of pizzazz to the card, I guess you could say. And then for number 7, we're doing North American English Pokemon with a Shining Steelix, first edition PSA 10 or PSA 8. Sorry. Yeah, my North American English Pokemon cards I collect are PSA 8s. The Japanese Pokemon cards I collect are PSA 10s. This is, one of those really high rarity cards, difficult to pull. It's got actually this, if you can see down here in the bottom, a triple star for being rare instead of a just single star. So that was part of it being increased rarity instead of just being a rare. It was like a secret rare from the Neo Destiny packs. So really hard to get these shining cards, and then difficult to get them in high grades because they were actually pretty good cards, I believe, for the Pokemon TCG. I don't know a whole lot about the Pokemon TCG, but from what I've heard, when they came out, these cards were pretty good, and a lot of people put them in their decks and used them. Alright, and then for number 6, we have a Magic Ruler First Edition PSA 10 Delinquent Duo. This is just one of those broken cards that's never going to come off the ban list unless it gets errated. The effect, pay 1,000 life points, randomly select and discard one card from your opponent's hand. Your opponent then selects and discards another card from his or her hand. So this might as well say just pay 1,000 life points to screw over your opponent, because making them discard 2 cards right from their hand is going to be such a huge burden. You know, you could play this first turn, and instead of having your opponent with 5 cards, they now have 3 cards, and they're just going to limit what they can do so heavily. The only drawbacks with this card is really the fact that if your opponent doesn't have 2 or more cards in their hand, then you can't really play this card effectively. So 1 or 0. But really, this card is just always playable, in my opinion, and it's just so strong. Permaban card that's probably never going to come off the ban list for the TCG. And an ultra rare from Magic Ruler. I also really like the artwork for this card. It always reminds me of Thing 1 and Thing 2, probably because of the numbers on their foreheads. But and then for number 5, we are going back to Pokemon with a Gold Star Mew, PSA 8. This is from Dragon Frontiers. This is also another one of those secret rare Pokemon cards that were put in with these sets later on, after Wizards of the Coast were no longer printing the cards, and Nintendo themselves were doing the North American English prints and creating those sets. So they chose to go with the higher rarity, high secret rares within some of these sets. Mew obviously is one of the most iconic Pokemon, being from the original 151. The original game, you had to go to a special Toys R Us event just to be given a Mew to play with on your game. So obviously, one of those more iconic Pokemon, and obviously the first movie for Pokemon included Mew and had it as a big character. So Mew has always been one of those highly sought after Pokemon cards, and anything in high rarity, especially like a Gold Star here, within decent condition, is going to be a valuable card. And then for number 4, we have a really interesting card, a Solemn Judgment Metal Raiders PSA 10 Gem Mint. I say this is interesting because it just now got off the ban list just a few days ago. Something that I think should have probably been off the ban list quite a while ago, to be honest, but now that it's finally off, I think it's pretty cool, because this is such a give and take situational card. Yes, it can do so much because it counters literally anything that you want from your opponent, but it's got that huge cost of half your life points. So if you're sitting at a comfortable 8,000, you got to really decide if you want to pay that 4,000 life points to negate a trap card, or negate a special summon from your opponent. Do you really want to eat that 4,000? It's basically a direct attack to your life points just to maintain control. Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to come back and bite you in the ass? I've had that happen before, back when I was playing, where I used the Solemn Judgment on a change of heart, and my opponent snatch steals my monster and attacked me directly for game. So Solemn Judgment is just one of those cards that can make or break a game, and I think it's really awesome that it's now unbanned and back in the meta. And then for number 3, we have another high rarity, high value Yu-Gi-Oh card, a Dark Magician of Chaos from Invasion of Chaos First Edition Gem Mint. Really good card when it came out because of its strong effect, and really sought after card because Invasion of Chaos just had so many good cards that people wanted to add into their decks. So the Invasion of Chaos set was just really highly sought after for so long within Yu-Gi-Oh, and is still now today for collector and vintage values. And Dark Magician of Chaos, really taking the Black Magician of Chaos Ritual Summon monster that was really no longer playable because it's just a 2,800 beat stick that's a ritual monster. So you're sacrificing 3 cards just to put a 2,800 monster out in the field. So making a better card out of it with this errata almost, or this, I guess more, you'd say, variation of the Black Magician of Chaos with the DMOC. And then speaking of Dark Magicians, for number 2, we have the LOB First Edition Dark Magician Gem Mint 10 from PSA. Obviously, an iconic card used in the anime, was Yugi's card, his go-to favorite card. It has so many variations of this card, fusions with this card, with the Dark Paladin, the Dark Flare Knight. the red Dark Magician that Arcana used, and that was a promo card in Japan, and later on released as a promo card in the North American prints. So just iconic card. One of the big three from LOB, or I guess big four. Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, Exodia, and Red Eyes, the big four ultra rare cards from the set. And so obviously a great card to have in any Yugioh collection, and a huge card to have for the LOB set completion. And then what's going to take the cake for number 1 is going to be a first edition Blastoise PSA 10. This is the original North American print from Wizards of the Coast, the no shadow famous, also the thinner printing on the 100 HP up here. But these first edition base set cards from Wizards of the Coast, they're just skyrocketed in price so high. It's almost ridiculous how much these cards have gone up in value. I bought this card a little over a year ago for I think $210, I think it was, and now they're selling for $600 to $800. And that's not me trying to brag about the value of this card. It's just me trying to show how much these cards have spiked up in value, and that's only for a PSA 8. It's not even the highly sought after Gem Mint 10 cards. I'll give another example. A little over a year ago, I thought I was trying to buy a first edition Charizard from base set in a PSA 8, and they were selling for around $800-900ish, and I never ended up pulling the trigger on it, and I've regretted it ever since, because now, a little over a year later, those cards are selling for $3 to $4 grand, and it's just like, wow, you can't believe how much those cards have spiked up in value. Obviously, Charizard's the one that's gone up the most because it's such a highly sought after card. Almost the most iconic card in Pokemon when you think about the North American English prints. But yeah, it's just ridiculous how much these first edition base set cards from Wizards of the Coast have exploded in value. And this is definitely one to have. I've always liked Blastoise better than the other 3 starters anyway, so. That will wrap it up for this collection reveal video, and as always, thank you for watching.